Hello, good evening. Welcome to another edition of Prime Hour on My Media Prime. We are glad to know that you have been expecting us and are very disposed, open to be part of this program this evening, during which we are going to be finding out why there is a lot of infighting amongst political parties. Other position parties have become targets and not the ruling CPDM party. Why is this so common amongst our opposition parties in Cameroon? After which we are going to be discussing on whether the government should intervene in regulating the fee structure in our schools. There are schools that are now asking over $1 million francs CFA for a school year. Is it still the aim, the objective to educate the people, or it's become purely a business matter? Are Cameroonians truly aware of the fact that some of them are being exploited by some of the school operators? We discuss about some issues relating to this, amongst other things. We are going to be discussing on these two topics with our regular panelists. Two are already in the house, two are on their way. We are in the company of Ndifo Ferdinand. He is a political analyst, a civil society activist. Good evening and welcome.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you for the invitation.
We hope that you are going to contribute to educating our televiewers this evening. Equally in the program with us is Tamfo Jones. He is the Secretary General of Modegna Political Party. It's good we are discussing about you people this evening.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Kum, for inviting me here today so we can put our heads together and see how we contribute to nation building. So it's a privilege.
We are waiting the arrival of Salomon Bias, a militant of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, and Walang Abang. They are on their way coming to join us discuss on these issues. Meanwhile, we are calling on you who is watching us to send us the name of your best school, in maybe nursery school, primary, secondary, or university. Tell us that name and equally explain why you think that school is the best. At the end of the month, we are going to publish the name of the winner of that contest. We're going to announce which school, according to the viewers of My Media Prime, is the best in the country. I will start with you, and for Ferdinand. Excuse me. What will explain the infighting amongst opposition parties in Cameroon?
You need to go back to the objectives. Why was Party A created? Why was Party B created? Who created that party? And so on. It's true, by law you cannot do it alone, but there's always somebody who's in front. You need to also know that Cameroon is a country with more than 200 parties. Don't lose sight of the fact that most of these parties don't go in for elections. Most of these parties serve like a distraction. Some of these parties, it is said and verifiable, are created by the system, so that when genuine parties are talking or serious parties are talking, they also talk. You realize that some of these parties are there to oppose opposition parties, but they don't go in for elections. You ask, they say next year, next time, and so on. So why this infighting? It all comes from the various objectives, and you realize that the parties are built around a person. In the 90s, it was understandable. You needed very strong people, but unfortunately, there were no mechanisms for power transition inside the party. The leaders or the heads are almost infallible, to the extent that those who have ambitions to replace even their leaders, at times it becomes very difficult. At times it becomes difficult also because the leaders realize that those under him, those in the same party, work with the system. Let's come back to a small system. Explain to me why the Minister of the Administration, before the elections of last year, had to tell Kawala and the UPC and the rest of the other people that in the UPC, this is your leader. In CCP, this is your leader. it is not really the role of the Minister of Territorial Administration. But you see that they bring divide and rule in the party. They bring a lot of divide and rule in the party. Then the small monies they give for the management of the party and yearly dues and so on, which amounts to very little. There's infighting. So people join political parties for various reasons. And at times it's not just to gain power. It's to have positions. At times it's to join parties close to power. So it's quite complex. But the system plays a very negative role on parties having a lot of problems. If the CCP has problems today, it is the Minister of the Administration. If UPC has problems today, the Minister of the Administration is responsible. There's so many parties, the Minister of the Administration and the system, they interfere in the whole thing, making the parties look as if they are not viable forces, but in the real sense, they are very viable forces. So you come to see that parties like the SDF, you ask, how have they survived all this while? Remember counter conventions. When Muna had to come out, make another convention, different from a normal convention, they resisted, but it also helped to weaken them. That's why at times inside the SDF you have dissenting voices. Well, it's coming down to a low rate because the chairman said last time, I will not go in for national elections and so on again. It gives the opportunity for young, ambitious, old people to also be candidates. And it calms the whole situation like that. But the system puts trouble in political parties.
Okay, the system puts trouble in political parties. We've seen cases where political parties outrightly, especially opposition parties, condemning the other. Is it a lack of focus? Is it that at creation they did not know where they were going to?
At creation, before you creating a political party, you must have an ideology. Before creating an opposition party, you must be against the way the party in place, in power, is managing the state affairs before you go to oppose the party. But in Cameroon, it is so frustrating to realize that people who were said to have been opposing the system in place, the main party in power, end up cooperating with the main party in power. We begin to ask ourselves questions. If upon creating the party, they didn't understand the ideologies of the ruling party, that in the long run, so many things go wrong, and they turn up supporting the enemy. So that's why we are living in the opposition today.
Yeah, but you are talking about those collaborating with the ruling party. But what explains this?
I was here to come there, Mr. Kum.
Okay.
Because you see, this CPDM, the party in power, has infiltrated the opposition.
You think so? Eh?
Yes, and they bring up political parties to act, let me say, to
give a semblance?
No, to play a certain role in the political field, terrain. And that's to distract the opposition from really opposing them. Because look at what happened in the 2018 elections, 2017 rather. We all came together and we suggested that the Cameroon opposition should send a single candidate. But to our greatest surprise, we realized that almost all the people who were going in for the presidential elections were so power hungry that they could not accept nobody was ready to let go power and send the colleague in front. So, and those who are for distraction, they will follow the same path to make sure that the party in power remains eternally. So, in the opposition in Cameroon, we have people who are hungry. They don't oppose because they want to oppose. They oppose because they hope for political positions in the nearest future. That's why you see that Cameroon has over 270 political parties opposing one. At the end of the day, you names of parties, you don't even understand. When you go to the field, you see people, they do so many funny things. And when I say that the party in power has infiltrated the opposition, you see the realities on the ground. Can you imagine that when we go to ask to declare our manifestations, the government will say that no, we want to bring public disorder, and they refuse that to give us to grant us that means to accept that we manifest. But you will see some other political parties of the opposition, they will go and they will have this, they will be accepted to go and carry on their manifestation, you realize that there are some political parties that are working with the system to distract the opposition in general. So I think if Cameroonians are really intelligent, they should look and sort out these parties and stop fooling themselves, because you see, these parties, they are out there confusing Cameroonians. Cameroonians don't even know who to support and where to follow.
Some people may equally believe that Modegna is being sponsored by the government just because they don't like the party.
No, if you don't like the party and you believe Modegna is being sponsored by the government, why don't come close to Modegna and find out if it's being sponsored by the government or not?
Have you gone closer to the other parties to ascertain what you are saying?
I have gone closer. When I tell you like that, there are deep things we can't say on air.
Is it the government that refused you people from going in as a coalition during the last presidential elections?
The government cannot come and refuse, but they may use his agents to cause confusion and make people to refuse.
Okay. Walang Abang, you just joined us. Welcome. Do you have the feeling, or do you believe in this notion that the government is playing on the political parties not to come together? That is influencing them to do what is commonly called divide and rule?
Mr. Bean, thanks for inviting me to the studio. I want to thank the honorable panelists who are there and the millions of viewers who are watching us today. Permit me to say that I am late, and I'm sorry about that, but it's because of circumstances that were beyond my control. I lost my father today, and took him to the mortuary before struggling to be here. But I'm happy to be here, and life continues.
Condolence.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so yes, do I have the feeling that the government is playing, to divide opposition parties? I think that anybody who will not have this feeling, especially in Cameroon, is a little naive. When the SDF came up in 1990, the government was sleeping. I've always said that the president of the republic was sleeping, and somebody knocked his door and he said, "Who is there?" He said, "Mr. President, opposition, democracy has been born in Cameroon, but unfortunately you are not the one that, So they took it as their primary mission, that's the CPDM, to destroy the opposition from the very onset. And they have created lots of organs that are doing that. There is, there are organs in the Ministry of Territorial Administration, Ministry of Communication, and lots of other ministries whose responsibility it is to confuse the political parties in Cameroon so that they don't understand themselves. I'll start with the 1992 elections, where Nijon was clear. There were people like Daikole Daisala, who at the dying minutes withdrew their support from the SDF. We don't know how it happens. There were so many people,
Militic.
Yes.
Militic.
Okay. There were now when SDF and many other parties decided not to go in for the 2004 elections, there were people like Albert Zongang who went and represented the political parties with such a very light weight, So there has always been this disunity, and the government has known or is a master of its game, the CPDM.
When you say the government, look at what is happening between le professeur Kumvondo and Cabral Libi today. How do you put the government in that?
Well, I don't want to act on, I don't want to comment on rumors because they may not be true until I really verify them. But, within the corridors, there are some assertions that Cabral Libi has been, attending meetings with the Minister of the Territorial Administration and other bigwigs of the CPDM regime.
Those are rumors, eh?
Those are rumors. Now, I am not saying that they are true, but rumors have a source.
And they can be very true.
And they can be true. If they are not true, they should be at least, I always tell people that 1/3 rule, they should be at least 30% true, or there should be some kind of 30% reality in those assertions. So I'm saying that all of it is not the government. We can spend the whole day just analyzing political parties in Cameroon. All of it is not the government. But I'm answering your question that yes, I do not have the feeling. It is a fact that the government, and it is the role of the government, because you don't want to be dislodged when you're having power.
You think the government influenced those who call themselves J20?
the Jean de J. Momos and the other, and the colleagues. The government called these people together to create a party.
Mr. Kum,
and people have been rewarded.
I just want to ask something.
Jean de J. Momo is now minister.
Yes, and he begged for it because he said if they give him a small ministerial, un petit ministerial, he will not mind. And that's what happened at the end of the day. To talk about what concerns rumors, those rumors about the Cabral Libi are very founding, because you realize that he is the only opposition who goes about with escort, with a military escort, and he has authorization everywhere he goes.
Have you applied for escort and were refused?
Do that give you authorization to move about before giving you escort? So it's suspicious.
Okay, Mr. Ndifo, that the opposition wants to take power. Today, Cabral Libi is fighting with Professor Kum Vondo. We see the outright fighting between the CRM and Cabral Libi. You see, at times, look at what happened in Munich, where Kawala convenes a session and then the CRM openly says, dissociates itself from it. How do we explain this? Is this not also greed that some people think that they should be the ones to lead every political action in this country?
I think for Kawala, she should reassure us. The Minister of the Transition says that she's not the head of that party. So she should have another platform from which to talk.
Okay.
Or she should challenge the minister in court. So we are sure that when elections come, she will be candidate or she will present those ideas. Let me continue from where Mr. Walang stopped. Let's illustrate with the UNDP. When it was created, Samuel Eboa, the coalition, it was fine. They found a way to throw away Samuel Eboa. The party was fine. After the first elections, the system found a way to disintegrate the party by integrating Chiroma and Mustafa Muhammadu into government against the will of Bello Buba, the party the head of the party president. So you see the way the state can do it, the government can do it. They do develop and road, they reward and so on. Coming back to...
But can the government force you against your will, Mr. Ndifo?
No, okay.
It means that you also had a tendency to want to work with the
No,
government.
let's put it this way.
Okay.
Let's put it in context again. Chiroma is somebody who was in jail for the coup d'etat of 84 and 86. So, I don't know whether he was declared innocent, but he benefits from the laws of 1991 that gave amnesty. Which means that the government has something to reproach Chiroma at any time they want. Each time they can tell Bello Buba, hey, you have old fights with government in the past. So most of these people are in trouble.
Yeah.
Let's go even to the SDF. It is said, and you can verify it, when the government succeeded in having parallel convention of Muna in Yaoundé, a certain Djibouti died. And the chairman was summoned in Yaoundé for about 3 months. He was going to Yaoundé every week. It is said probably there was some sort of a trade-off. The SDF had to look aside while the then parliamentarian for Balikumba, the Fon, who had problems in jail, be released. Some say there was some sort of trade-off. So once you're in a political party, you have things they can, just simple taxation. They can use taxation against you. They can use a word against you. With this terrorism law, they have everything that they can use against you. We are not saying it's totally the state. For me, the government is about 70%. But political party leaders are also in a learning process. In the learning process. Learning to counteract the maneuvers of the government. If the playing ground were fair, they would not be wasting time to A suspecting B, B suspecting C. You cannot tell me that Elekam, which is supposed to be autonomous, neutral, will tell you, you did not come, you had no polling officers.
Why are they there?
Why are they there? So they say there's fraud. They say, but you had no polling officers when they're supposed to be neutral. So it destroys the various parties. To an extent, the parties are partially responsible. They don't learn from the mistakes of others. But the system in place is such that should they want to destroy the party, they will do it and do it with ease.
Okay. Mr. Tamfu,
yes.
Can we also say that it's hunger? These guys were so poor that they are using political parties to get into the system, what a Frenchman would say, la mangeoire, and once they get there, they forget about the promises they made to their militants.
If not of poverty, how can we say it that in a country like ours with a population of less than 30 million, we have over 200 political parties opposing? That means we have about we have more than 200 political parties opposing one party in system. If not of hunger, if not of greed, if not of selfishness, everybody wants to not even to roll. They create this political party so that when they, because it's through a political party that Yaoundé will hear from you. And when Yaoundé now hear from you and maybe consider you to be a threat, they might call you maybe to propose a brown envelope which you may reject or not. And most of the people, when they wait and wait, like the man who just went recently to Yaoundé did, they wait and they don't see anything. They act by themselves that if there's a little thing for them, they will go. And they go. I bet you this is somebody who used to attend debates together and we talk on so many things. But I bet you today he is the one who will sit in his office and order that program should be cut on air. Meanwhile, he was the same person yesterday who was talking about it. Now, if we were in the opposition yesterday, and we were one person talking with the same voice, and today you are the other way, can we consider that you are not our enemy? Or you are still an opposition party? Because yet these parties are not yet dissolved, but yet they are in collaboration with the party in place. You will see people like Jean-Jacques Ekindi, who organized, and then during the eve of the elections, they say that they are supporting the party in power. Then what opposition were there? Was it that they did not understand what they were doing and finally woke up from sleep? That is what we are facing. It is all about hunger, selfishness. Selfishness in what sense? Somebody does not want that another person should be the one to rule. Everybody wants to be in power. Because you realize that during the presidential elections that just passed recently, we went to the main opposition party because we are a small party, and we refused because we had the opportunity to stand for the presidential elections, but we refused, given that the population of the southwest and the northwest was not in peace. We cannot go for elections when part of the country is sick.
But you got support to MRC.
That was at the end of the day. Okay. And after that action, I bet you I decided to stay away from party politics for some time. And I was talking with my president that how can we say that we are not standing for elections and we advise people to boycott elections? You people tell us that we cannot, the others told us that they cannot boycott elections because when they boycott elections, the other small parties who are being sponsored by the system in place will go for the elections and our boycott will make no sense. We told them that let's boycott. Let the people who are being sponsored by the party in place go for the elections and do whatsoever they want. At least us in our sincerity, we will stay and know that we boycotted the elections because the country is not good. But we went to top opposition parties. Some of them were even to propose that we should push the government to change the electoral system because it is not favorable to the opposition at all. But some very well-known opposition party leader openly told us that he will go and win CBDM with the same electoral code, and he was so disappointed. I cannot mention his name here on air because it's disgraceful. When people make such statements, we understand that they are directly with the system. Because you cannot tell us that you as an opposition can win CBDM with Elekam in place. You are fooling yourself. You cannot go for a war, and I bet you statistics have been showing that opposition in Cameroon is present in 5 regions. Now we have 2 which were off because the Amber Boys has said that the population will not vote. And in those areas, with the CBDM present and the civil servants there and the military will obviously vote for their boss. The CBDM and the civil servant will do same. And the population will not be able to vote for the opposition. Then the opposition will automatically crumble there. And you go into a battle. Meanwhile, we know, as I said earlier, the opposition, if the opposition is found in 5 regions and 2 regions are off, it means that we are counting on 3 regions to go for the election. Who are you that you will go?
So who betrayed the opposition, the government or the opposition?
The opposition, because I always say that there's opposition in the opposition. Because if we in the opposition, we cannot agree among ourselves because we propose. Because if we created a coalition called Kwasik. In the Kwasi, we called other political parties that we should come together, send one candidate, because that is what the Cameroonians are waiting for. A single opposition candidate. Everybody will stand behind this candidate. The candidate will go and rule for 3 years. That's the transitional government. Organize free and fair elections and will not go in again. Will not stand as a presidential candidate. Other people now that were the other political parties now will now come in. stand for the presidential elections, and the person who wins now go in and rule for 2 terms, and 1 term will be 4 years. That's what we proposed to these people, and we went to people like, sorry to say, Muna. He told us that we had gone late. That the way he is now, his program is nah. There's no time to waste. All these things we're talking like this, waste of time.
He wants to take power.
He's going to win Mr. Biya and take power. And at the end of the day, we even proposed to them that look at what's happening in the North and South. It was so disgraceful that when I listened during the Constitutional Council, I saw people saying that because they did not vote with them in the North and Southwest, that's why they could not win. When they were going, didn't they know that they won't be voted in the Northwest and the Southwest? You cannot go, you ignore the power of the Northwest and the Southwest. When you fail, you start saying that they did not vote in the Northwest and the Southwest. Why going? Didn't you know? Or is did the problem of the Northwest and Southwest start in the course of the election?
My question to you is, my question to you was whether people are betraying the opposition because they are hungry.
And I have answered and I am elaborating on that.
Okay, they're very hungry.
They're very, very hungry.
You think that
hungry and selfish.
Do you think that people are using politics to gain positions, wealth, and fame?
Bello Buba, yes. Issa Chiruma Bakari, yes. If I start calling the names, we'll spend
Antaka Sagai,
there are so many of them,
Madu Mustafa.
They're using the political party system, to get.
And maybe it is also a way to go get the cake, the national cake, and then bring it back to the electorate.
No, it is for selfish reason. Please, I would like our dear viewers to remember, if you are watching this, Professor Lumumba, there is one of his videos where he says that Africa doesn't have parties. And that is very true with Cameroon. Because if you look at it, these are meetings that are gathered around one person. And it is unfortunate, that when these people disappear, the party will not last 10 years. They will gradually ebb out after these people. Because if you look at what's happening in the United Kingdom, the Labour Party has been there forever. The Conservative Party is there, There are other little groups, but these are major parties where people adhere because of the ideology of these parties. And we don't have a multiplicity of small gatherings, that people, because of their personal interests, come up with every day and think that they must certainly rule through I bet any of you that if there is one or there are two major entities where you want to rule, if you have the aura, you will grow along the hierarchy of that institution, that party, and you will rule. But unfortunately, Africans think that they just get up one morning and take power. No, there is a system in place, and that system is very, very powerful. That system is almost almighty. At the level of the African countries, Cameroon being a case. So a little party cannot just grow up in the morning and then, 5 years later they take power. SDF, fortunately, gathered a lot of support from the grassroots and everywhere, but that period is gone. The CPDM has re-oiled, put oil in its machinery, and it is still there till now. Same meaning, yes, the opposition has failed, because it behooves on the opposition to get the party from power, the ruling party from power. And if they have not done that since 1990 till today, then the opposition has failed. Then there is something wrong with the Cameroonian opposition. And I think it goes in line with what Professor Lumumba is saying, that most of them are not political parties. Those are small groups that come up, for their personal interests, especially the personal interests of the leaders of those groups. Because finally, what do they achieve? You see Bandakani who says, Paul Biya is a bad man, he cannot rule. And the next minute he says, no, that's the greatest president that Cameroon has ever had. That is not a party. That is a small group gathered around one individual who is fighting in his own interest. And people are so following him up and down every day. I think the mentality about parties should start changing in Cameroon.
Is the audience, the militants, also not disappointing the leaders of these parties? Because when they see people running behind ministers to get sardine, bread, and this, they also feel that I should become a minister so that when I come back, you need to see when Minister Jean de Dieu Momo goes to Chang today or comes to Douala. Everybody is coming around because they think that something may fall out.
Mr. Kum, please, sorry if I will take the stage. I want to say something. See what is going on. When we accuse the government of infiltrating the political opposition parties, it is because, look at the National Assembly, for instance. We are in Cameroon. We have crisis in Cameroon. People are dying. But we have people there who were supposed to be our representatives. Cameroon has almost caught fire almost on all angles. People are very angry, but those who are representing these people cannot speak for these people. Then we can be tempted to say that they have been absorbed by the system in place to be there like figureheads, hand clappers. Because if we have a crisis like what is happening in the north and the southwest, we realize that other countries talk about it in their upper house and lower houses. But here in Cameroon, nothing is being said about it, neither at the National Assembly, neither at the Senate. But our forefathers, they go there and clap hands all the time.
You've made your point, but at least the SDF tried something last year.
It's not about trying, it's about pushing till something happens.
What in their position, what would you have done?
Leave the assembly. If my voice cannot be heard in the assembly, then why am I there for? Then I'm useless there. If my voice cannot be heard there, because if they had left the national, either resign or boycott, or they don't walk out. Leave when they call for sessions, you don't go. The international community will understand that there are a people there's a nation in this country that is not being listened to. There are people that are crying out loud, and the government has refused to listen to them, so they have walked out.
Okay.
It will make the thing so effective.
You asked a very important question.
Yes.
Yeah, when Momo comes to Douala, you meet him one-to-one, he now gives help to people.
Is that help? Is that help? I mean, I'm just asking.
What I say,
It gives bets.
yes, I had a testimony from one father who said, I was sick, I took my book to him, he paid all my medicines. I saw he gathered.
He saved his life, saved a man's life.
He gathered by guys.
Would have saved more.
How many people are dying of the
He gathered by guys to say they can start an insurance scheme, and he put some money into that trust fund. Yeah, but other opposition guys, they admire that. When he goes to Chang, that people will say, hey, Momona has a new jeep. He has guards. They admire him. So the tendency, this country is made of two parts. While
I heard some people who formerly blasted the president of the republic and joined the G20 and now chauffeur driven.
Yes.
very
well.
They see them on television, they change coats every day. So they look at Momo, say, hey, you have to be tenacious. In the end, you can have something. You know, in the English system, when you falter, the electorate abandons you. This way, the politics this way is the art of deceit. It's the art of self-interest, while generally it should be out of general interest. I want to come to something Mr. Wallan said. France has less than 2,000 militants in a country of more than 70 million. So don't expect parties to have too many militants. The only problem is that some of these parties are not focused. We know the challenges and so on. Are not focused. I want to say that the system to about 60-70% is responsible for parties not staying on track. It's very difficult to stay on track. So we can only recommend that next elections, 2020, any party that does not go in for elections, any party does not come out with one councillor, you still stop existing. But how would the state accept when they have more than half of those parties? More than they sponsor these parties. But the genuine way will be, if you don't go in for elections, why do you exist? You are not of the green or environmental parties saying that, okay, for life, we'll lobby those in power to think about the environment and so on. But specifically of domains like that, which we know well over, green, environment and so on. Why do you exist and you don't go in for elections? The state has to answer that question.
Please permit me one second. Yes, I think it is extremely adventurous, okay, if a minister like Momo comes to town and, starts dishing out money into the insurance fund. Now, the question is, where does he take that money? Because he has a salary. Can he take his money from, you understand? It comes to confirm the fact that
the salary could be fat and he decides to
case
share.
noir.
Yeah.
No, it's case noir. I don't understand what the case noir is. In other countries, their counterparts are doing everything for the health system to be good, so that people are sick and they go to the hospital and they are treated. There are many other people who could not go to Mr. Jean de Momo with their own hospital books. So it's extremely dangerous.
We're not saying it's good.
I know.
It's not good. No, what he does is not good. You're only observing.
No, I know you're observing, and I think that you observe in a very wonderful way, to create some kind of an effect. But the viewers out there should not take it as something for him to be given a medal. No, it is extremely dangerous because that money, the source, first of all, is doubtful.
Thank you very much.
Secondly, his counterparts are working, day and night, so that the health system, so that insurance policy, so that everything works very well, so that the bagman does not need Jean de Momo to go to, do his insurance. That's just the point.
We live in a system where they make life very unbearable for the civilians, for the population, so that tomorrow when they come with little France, from their taxpayers' money,
and that's Machiavelli.
You are the Secretary General of a political party existing in Cameroon. Why has it been very, very difficult, if not impossible, to create a common front for the opposition? Today, we are facing what is called the Anglophone crisis. Why can the opposition not come together as a force?
This question takes me back because when I wanted to join politics, I realized that real politics, because I studied political science in school, when I looked into all the parties, I realized that what was really deep in was not what I was looking for. You realize that the real opposition parties may not be heard of. Those are the people who are opposing really. Because I cannot lie to you that it's not because Modena is no longer about Modena. It's not
I know of that party.
It's not because of we have not been given a hand by Yaoundé that we are not there. Or that they try to get everybody into their net, but some decide to resist and say no. We have a goal we want to achieve. We want the lives of Cameroonians to change. We want this country to change.
Can you come back to my question?
Now,
why has it been very difficult for you people as opposition party to come together as a common front?
It is hunger. Hunger in the sense that those who are hungry, who created the political parties because of belle politics, that means the politics to eat, are now used by the system in place to distract the political scene. Because when they come, votes that will have been shared between two political parties is now shared among 30 political parties, and it reduces the power of the opposition. Because if one person is to face you, so many people will stand behind that person to face you. But when two people are to face you, the number will reduce. If 30 people have to stand behind one person to face the enemy, if there are two people to face that same enemy, I bet you one person may have 17 and the other one has 13. That's destruction. It makes it in such a way that you see one party will win elections in whatsoever way they win the elections with a very high percentage, and the little remaining percentage is being shared among so many numerous and useless opposition parties. Because I would say they are useless because what are they doing there? We are just there dancing every day. We are cracking our heads because we have held several meetings trying to come together and put our heads together.
Modena is useless.
No, we are not useless. We are not useless, and I think that if you are looking for a genuine political party to stand behind and see what you vote for, I think you should come and join Modena. If you want to challenge me, come and I will tell you our ideologies.
You ask a very important question.
After you leave, tell your chairman to come and give us some money because you are doing propaganda.
Sorry about that. It's just that at time we must defend what we stand for.
Yeah, you ask a very important question.
Yes.
Why do the parties not cooperate? The state will not want it. The government will not want it. The first thing is that in Senegal, you realize that it's possible. There's round one, round two. Round one, it's possible to fuse 4 or 5 parties, 3, 4, and so on. You go on another banner. The state does not want it. But most importantly, don't forget that we are still a neo-colonial state. Don't forget that in most African countries, he who has to be in power is chosen from France. So France has, France and colonial masters, they have their word to play. It matters a lot.
Okay.
Yes. Because how do you explain the fact that they'll come in before elections, encourage political parties, hold seminars and so on. At the end of the elections, when it is proven that there was fraud, it was not clean.
Free and fair.
Yeah. They just go them and they're waiting for the next elections. It's not very proper.
They come in as observers. Okay, we are going to continue our discussions after the news. It's time to find out what stories have made headline news out there with Peregrine Blanche.
one of more than 200 majors of HIPMAT, I am proud of my success. It all began at HIPMAT.
I am a CEO. I coach and lead a team of salespeople. I don't hesitate to tell them the vision was planted and molded by HIPMAT.
Today, I stand on a pedestal of experienced and committed lecturers. The foundation was laid by HIPMAT.
For over a decade, HIPMAT's credibility and ministerial recognition have trained more than 15,000 professionals in business management and engineering from HND to BTech, MBA, and what have you. With an outstanding partnership with the University of Bamenda for BTech and MBA programs, our undoubted commitment to your show's success is a reflection of the future you painted. The Higher Institute of Business Management and Technology, HIPMAT, a university for professionals.
De l'inédit au Cameroun, le tout premier collège canadien ouvre ses portes dès septembre 2019. Performance Education Center, en partenariat avec les grandes écoles canadiennes, offre aux élèves du second cycle un cadre prestigieux, calme et propice pour des études avec des enseignants chevronnés canadiens et camerounais. À Performance Education Center, obtenez le baccalauréat canadien, vous ouvrant automatiquement les portes des plus grandes universités canadiennes et du monde via les bourses d'études garanties. Performance Education Center propose également des programmes de formation bilingue de 2 ans permettant d'obtenir un permis de travail au Canada après obtention d'une attestation d'études collégiales du Québec équivalent du BTS sous l'assistance de Performance Immigration Canada. Performance Education Center est situé à Nord-Bessou, derrière Antenne CRTV, 10e avenue. Performance Education Center, visa vers le Canada et le monde.
Medical materials worth 1.6 billion CFA francs has been handed by China as aid to the Cameroon government. 3 members of a family in Limbe have died of food poisoning, while 8 others are still receiving treatment at the Limbe Regional Hospital. Parents in the city of Kumba have said peace and security is the only condition under which schools can resume effectively. Good evening and welcome to the 7:45 newscast on My Media Prime. My name is Genda Pelgin Blanche King. The news in full. The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, has received on behalf of the government of Cameroon some materials as aid worth 1.6 billion from the Chinese government. The aid comprising basic necessities and medical equipments were handed by the Chinese ambassador to Cameroon at Génie Militaire. Lasha Kingsley followed this and now reports.
The Minister of Territorial Administration, Paul Atanganji, this Friday chaired a security meeting at the Littoral Governor's Office. The closed-door meeting brought together top security and defense officials of the region. Addressing the media, Minister Paul Atanganji said, though the security situation of Littoral region is normal, cases of recalcitrant bike riders, pickpockets, mischievous acts carried out by commercial bike riders still some issues to be dealt with.
I can tell you that the security situation in the region is under control. We have certain security challenges which we'll be discussing in our closed-door meetings. But I would like to draw the attention of the public that the administrative authorities have drawn my attention to certain activities which are dangerous in the region. We have mischievous acts by motorbike riders and in township taxis where passengers are being looted and deprived of their private properties. So we ask the forces of law and order to look into that so that all those perpetrating those dangerous activities should be put under control.
The minister urged private media organs based in the littoral region of Cameroon to be more responsible in the way they carried out their activities, warning them to construct and not to destroy the nation during their weekly debate programs.
To the media men, the administrative authorities have drawn my attention to many big media houses in Douala organizing weekly debates And the debates have nothing to do about nation building or construction. They have one main objective, just to sabotage government action, to promote secessionist tendencies, and to promote dangerous activities which cannot help us in nation building.
On the activities of political parties, Minister Atanganji called on opposition to respect the laws of the Republic while restraining from activities that may push his ministerial department to suspend them. Minister Atanganji ended his media briefing by sounding a note of warning to some NGOs indulging in unscrupulous activities to respect the contract they signed with the Ministry of Territorial Administration or be suspended.
Minister Paul Atanganji also chaired a security meeting at the governor's office in Douala. The closed-door meeting brought together top security and defense officials of the region to address security issues in the littoral region. Let's now have an excerpt from Minister Paul Atanganji.
The humanitarian program was put in place by President Paul Biya. And less than 7 months ago, the convention was signed for the assistance. And now we are here to materialize the assistance. And that you can see that the partnership between Cameroon and China is a strong, solid, and efficient partnership. The ambassador said something which is very important, that geographically China is very far from Cameroon, but as much as they are far, they are even more closer when it comes to relationship and working in partnership. So I think that it's very important for us to see, and we think that the other countries should emulate, because the Chinese government, when they say something, they do it. And in the present circumstances, I think it is very, very timely, because we all can see that they have given just what is beneficiary for the population. You can see an ambulance, you can see trucks, you can see school beds, you can look at the hospital material, utensils, and all those things which the population will use on a daily basis.
Despite numerous calls for effective school resumption from activists and organizations, parents in the troubled southwest and northwest regions of Cameroon are still skeptical of the possibility of school resumption in these troubled regions. My Major Prime sampled the opinions of some of these parents in Kumba, southwest region of the country. This is what they had to say.
For us to have a smooth academic undertaking in the southwest and northwest region, taking into consideration the prevailing situation we have in the northwest and southwest region, there must be peace. Well, going back to school is a very good idea, because these children, there's nothing parents can do to their children apart from giving them a sound indication for their own future. So we'll encourage the government to try to do as much as possible to appease the boys who are in the bush.
Some man will take a picking send for school. It won't be 5 minutes time. They go yes, gone. They start shoot with money picking fee die. With security no day. So if government wants to send school and go, may they give security them, because we not send what picking them without no security.
I want to believe 3 years staying at home is not 3 days, and everybody is really tired of the issue, and the rate of illiteracy too, and the other things that have really hampered the youths, and the youths are going astray because of this issue of back to school.
Due to the crisis, I think the government has the power to say we should go back to school.
I say school will go back bed, because you see the present condition, because only yesterday Tawari come back, accommode, Boyari can't come back. The way I see school environment there, you know, work out.
And on this sad note, 3 members of a family in Limbe have died after consuming dinner. Gladys Ebai, Sheila Ebai, and Che Shalon have been confirmed dead at the hospital, while 8 others, all members of the same family, are under intense medical care. Upon arrival at the Limbe Regional Hospital, my Major Prime met with one of the doctors who attended to the patients at the time of the emergency. Let's hear this, what he had to say.
I think it was already around 6 p.m. when most of the day staff had returned to their homes. And then those who were on duty were mainly the emergency staff, where we have the team of doctors who are the OPD, and the head team, Dr. Zikiru and his team. He called me that they have received 2 cops arrived dead on arrival. And of course, that really alerted us. We had to trigger an emergency system to call for more. And when he heard the story, it all happened that these people were all doing fine. And then after their meal, sometime late in the afternoon, and then sitting and watching TV, and very soon they started feeling bad. And who were these first victims? There was Gladys Ebai, yes, 66 years old mother, and there was Sheila Ebai Bama, 38 years old. These were the first victims we received at the OPD at around 6:30 p.m. And later on now, not so, the doctor, when they heard about the story around food, that everybody was doing fine, he alerted that the rest of the family members should be brought to the hospital, and so for evaluation. All of them were brought, and then of course there was Che Shalon, 3 years old little girl, who also came, and the oxygen saturation was 38%, and they did all they could do to reanimate her, and she gave up the ghost 25 minutes later.
When this happened, we could not find any possible cause, so we asked the history in the door that it was food at the end. So we're thinking that it should be food, an alleged food intoxication.
These other 8 victims who are in the emergency to the ward, they are all in the medical ward, and they are relatively stable for now.
Today is Awards Day of the Indigenous People instituted by the United Nations. 9 August each year is observed to protect the rights of the world's indigenous people and also recognize their achievements and contributions to improve on world's social issues. The following report talks more about world and indigenous people.
Question, pas seulement moi. La question que nous sommes en train de poser, comment nous allons faire pour vivre? Et comment sera l'avenir de nos enfants?
There are 7,000 languages in the world, more than half spoken by indigenous people. But according to the United Nations report, every 2 weeks a language is lost. Indigenous people make up a great percentage of the world's population. The International Day of the World's Indigenous People is observed on August 9 every year to front up and protect the rights of the world's indigenous population. The day also recognizes the achievements and contributions that indigenous people make to improve world issues. Amongst Cameroon's more than 20 million inhabitants, communities like the Pygmies, the Mbororo, estimated to a number over 1 million, and the Kidi are largely recognized as indigenous people. To protect and recognize the rights of the indigenous people, Cameroon voted in favor of the United Nations Declaration on 2007 to protect the rights of the people. Madame Balki Sububa is an activist for the rights of indigenous people.
These people live on subsistence production, that is hunting and gathering and pastoral nomadism. They have strong attachment to their ancestral lands and they live in geographically isolated areas. Indigenous communities face many difficulties like discrimination, marginalization, social exclusion, lack of land rights, lack of representation in areas of decision making, and above all, illiteracy.
Today, the Pygmy population makes up 4% of Cameroon's population. The Mbororo makes up approximately 12%. The Kidi community lives up the Mandara mountain north of Cameroon with an uncertain estimated population. There is a need to advocate for the rights of indigenous people at the local, national, regional and international level. These rights will bridge the gap between principles, policy processes and realization. We talk sports. Star Renard of Melong and UMS of Loom will represent Cameroon at the CAF Confederations Cup and CAF Champions League, respectively, this weekend. Details with sportsman Mechuge Stanley.
The boys of coach Charlemagne Bongo are already in the Cameroon's political capital, Yaoundé, to confront Congolese giants AS Vita Club in the first leg preliminaries of the CAF Champions League on Sunday, the 10th of August. Coach Mbongo, while talking to the press in Yaoundé, admitted AS Vita Club's supremacy over UMS of Loom in continental competitions, but however revealed that the Loom side has an effective game plan to put their Congolese guest in difficulty. On their part, AS Vita Club under Deputy Coach Rahul Shengu are already in Cameroon for Sunday's rendezvous and has been training at the CAF Technical Center in Oja, Yaoundé. Meanwhile, Cameroon's flag bearers in the CAF Confederation Cup, Stade Renard of Melon, will be en route to DR Congo this Friday for their first leg continental game against DC Mutema Pembe. The Melon Football Club defeated Nkonsamba Selection 4-0 in their last warm-up game on Thursday. The Stade Renard versus DC Mutema Pembe's encounter will be played on Sunday the 10th of August at the Stade de Martyrs in Kinshasa.
Thanks, sportsman Mechuge Stanley, for that sport report. We have come to the end of today's edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. But before we go, a reminder of our bullet points. Medical materials worth 1.6 billion CFA francs have been handed by China as aid to the Cameroon government. 3 members of a family in Limbe have died of food poisoning, while 8 others are still receiving treatment at the Limbe Regional Hospital. Parents in the city of Kumba have said peace and security is the only condition under which schools can resume effectively in the troubled southwest and northwest of Cameroon. Thank you for watching. Join us on Monday, 7:45, God willing, for another edition of Prime News on My Media Prime. Ewane Eli produced the news, coordinated by Faith Tata Berenyoy. My name is Genda Peojin Blanche King. Stay tuned. Prime Hour continues with Kum Leonard and his panelists. Good night and happy weekend.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime on My Media Prime. We continue with our discussions on the infighting amongst Cameroon political parties, especially those of the opposition. Meanwhile, send your vote. Tell us which school is your best school. When you vote, give us the reasons why you think a nursery, primary, secondary, or university is your best school. I continue with you, Walang Abang. Now, is there a problem of generation where those who started parties in Cameroon, especially opposition parties, the likes of Frundi, Adamu Namjoya, Bello Buba, Maigari, is there a problem for them to give way for a new generation that is coming in the likes of Cabral Libi, Serge Espoir Matomba, that is creating the somewhat friction that we are seeing amongst the political parties today?
I don't think so. I don't think that there is a generational, crisis in the political party arena in Cameroon. But I think that there is a problem that is affecting the political parties in Cameroon and in many other countries as of now. It is the omnipotence, I would say that, some kind of omnipotence of the party in power. We have said it and very clearly that it is really, really difficult for the party in power in many African countries, especially in French African countries, to be dislodged from power. The reason being that they have, permit me to say that I'm not blaming anybody, that's the system. And people really have to do everything or anything they can, to dislodge a system. But, I'm writing a book about the omnipresence of the military in Africa. Many of these French African countries have succeeded to maintain themselves in power for this long because they use the military instead to clamp down on their people. Now, a case in point is Cameroon. When the CRM, when the CRM called for Cameroonians to come out and protest peacefully, the word peaceful is in capital letters, to come and protest peacefully, against electoral hold-up. I was in this city of Douala, and at every major junction, there were these Spitfire cars that were meant to, deter the population. That's already military force being used. The gendarmerie, the police force of Cameroon, they were brought together in their numbers, powerfully to dissuade, or to how do I put it? To use the military power, to use that police power against the people, because they are claiming that elections were stolen or results were, rigged, and maintained the power, the party, to maintain the party in power. So I'm saying that it is true that the opposition, has its weaknesses, but it is a greater truth that the parties in place, Chad is the same thing, Equatorial Guinea is the same thing, Gabon is the same thing, Togo and many other of these African countries, it is virtually the same thing. The parties in power have used everything, the police, the judiciary, the army, the gendarmerie, for those that have gendarmes. They have used all these people to keep themselves in power. And when I say it, I mean these words. They are ready to do anything to maintain themselves in power. And this power is very, very sweet.
But you also know that power is never given, it's taken.
Power is never given, it is taken.
In the position of the power, of the party in power,
we are talking about the weakness of the opposition.
Okay.
And 70% of the opposition's weakness is the party in power's unwillingness to share power, or to allow people or other parties that have won elections to come. We know the case of 1992. It is said every year. Even Muna introduced himself into the political arena in 2018 by claiming that the SDF won massively in 1992. So it is no secret. So we know that even if you win massively, then this party, unless, and this has been, this is why I respect John Fronti very well, unless the people choose to go to the street and take that power by force, and there's going to be a lot of human casualties. And certainly, most of the people who are clinging onto power will not be affected.
Okay, we are glad to know that Nanji Gerard, you are watching us live from the city of excellence, that is Buea. Let me take some messages. Political parties in Cameroon are very confused because most of the leaders don't have basic political ideas. So we should talk of putting in place good laws rather than political parties. Okay, good evening to you guys in the studio. I'm Egbe Terence Bati from Buea. My best school in Cameroon is my former alma mater, GBHS Muya Buea. That school made me what I am today, and I'm so proud of it. But it's quite unfortunate that with the current crisis has made the school to go on a temporary halt. What I wish is that by September this year, everything should go back to normal in the school. Thanks. Thank you to Egbe. My best school is Rainbow Bilingual College Chang, from Mr. Tafak Evaristus, writing from Kumba. Good evening to everyone in the house. It's John Akese from Kumba. It can only take people who show love to each other, not to have odds. So I urge the political actors to love each other so as to prevent troubles to themselves. My best school is GBHS, Upstation, Kumba. Good evening to all in the studio. I like the program. My best school is Oxford Comprehensive High School, Yaoundé Obili, because of its discipline, and it has been my school. I'm Belvin, writing from K-Town. Okay, this one says Barrister John Kamini is watching. Greeting him, please. Kumfo is waiting. Barrister, we are glad you are watching from the City of Excellence. Hello, good evening to you all out there. The name of my best school is Mulan Bilingual Academy Institute, Kumba. The teachers are very competent and also caring and lovable to both the pupils and parents. Please keep them coming. D4 Ferdinand. is there a problem of parties trying to defend their regions of origin, their tribes, and divided along ethnic lines in Cameroon today?
It's possible, but it comes as a reaction to something. Let's go back to '92. It was, it's not good to, it's not a very good episode, but it was like people thinking that Yaoundé, people from that side, had taken everything for themselves. So it's possible. But I want to come back to something Mr. Wallang said and tell the people that French African politics makes it in such a way that the party on power relies on 3 pillars. 1, corruption. They corrupt, make sure they corrupt maximum number of people from other parties to be with them. When you're against them, they do everything to be with them. Secondly, for it to work well, they use tribalism. Thirdly, when they cannot use corruption and tribalism, they use repression. With these 3, they crush all opponents.
Okay.
Very, very true.
There is this issue
Very,
of
very true.
presidential majority. What is presidential majority? Where opposition parties are celebrating until they even have a chairman of the presidential majority.
Presidential majority, I would see at the level of the National Assembly, where...
No, presidential majority, that is opposition parties that are working with...
That's a forum.
Opposition parties that support the government.
Until they are celebrating.
Like the G20 before the last election.
I think, please, can you come again with your question?
That is, what would cause political parties that from the onset said they wanted to take power, today are celebrating belonging to the presidential majority?
All I can say is hunger.
Again?
Hunger, because I don't see a reason why today, though in politics they say there's no permanent friend and no permanent enemy. But if there's no permanent friend and no permanent enemy, it means that people can be forced to change their views with hunger. Because you see, we are living in a country where the resources of the country are being managed by a handful of people against the will of the wish and the will of the greater majority. It makes it difficult for people to live a decent life. So, as I say, Cameroon, everybody now look for a way to survive in the harsh environment. So you see political parties are coming up. So when they come up now, they make a little name. They now come together with their friends, because I bet you some of these people, they know each other very well. And they know their intentions when they meet in various places. They now gather and create such groups and call themselves presidential majority, and they celebrate that actually we have succeeded, because they were not going for A to D. They had their own aims. Yes, they wanted a share of the cake, because when you look critically, you see that the problem we are living today in Cameroon is not a problem of living together, it's a problem of eating together. Yeah, a particular group of people have been eating, and the greatest majority have been hungry. So those of the greatest majority now who are hungry, they have not decided to use fraudulent and funny ways to get into the
eating together.
Into the eating together crew. Yes. And now they call themselves the presidential majority, and they hold funny meetings and celebrate their victory over the blood of the people. Because I would say the blood of the people, when they talk of killing, it's not all about taking a knife and piercing someone or shooting someone with a bullet. When you betray someone, it is killing, because you cannot tell the population or your people that I am standing against Mr. Biya because he is not rolling where the CPTM has failed in this place, he has failed here, and tomorrow again you become a hand clapper of the CPTM. It means that you have killed the people who are crying every day. You are the one drinking their blood.
Now, if you were to be invited, because you're a secretary general of a party, if you were to be invited to be part of the presidential majority so that you can make inputs to better this nation, will you refuse?
Look, nothing good can come out from the devil. If he gives you something with the right hand, he will automatically take it with the left hand. So I may not really answer that question here, because that such an opportunity has not been given. Maybe if it comes, I may know what to say. But as for now...
No, please. It's please. If it comes, please be definite.
if it comes... of which I know it will not come, because they know that what they go to.
It will come.
If it comes, I will not take it, because I know the ideology of Winner Start. If I tell you that when my party went into alliance with the CRM party, I withdrew myself from party politics for a while. And if you put those who were watching me on air on different channels, they saw me as a civil society activist. I prefer to wear that cap than to wear the cap of the Secretary General of a political party when they go and do something that does not tie with my own personal ideology.
Why not go your platform? Why not go your platform?
That will be the same confusion we are talking about here, because you realize that when we have
power can change.
When we have so many parties in Cameroon, it is because people go into political parties, and at the end of the day, they see that the same political party they so much believe into have some lapses. And
are you saying that political parties should be dissolved in Cameroon? Because seemingly nothing good can come from them.
I think the majority should be dissolved. If we have two parties in Cameroon, that means the party in power and the one opposition party, it will be better and we'll have a sense of direction.
So
because
Moderna,
now it's going.
Moderna should be dissolved?
It should not be dissolved. Instead, the other parties should be dissolved and Moderna stays and other people come and line up behind us. Because we are the only parties that can give light to Cameroon.
Okay. The same party you refused to back during the presidential elections, eh?
I didn't refuse to back Moderna. I refused to vote because my people were dying. What am I doing politics? Is it not for the betterment of the people? If not for the betterment of people, why am I doing politics? If the people are crying and I'm doing politics, then I'm doing it for my own self. So when I said that we did not go in for elections because we saw that the people of the Northwest and the Southwest were dying. If the country is sick, then why are we organizing elections? Now the municipal and the parliamentary elections have been postponed because of the crisis. Why didn't they postpone also the presidential elections? What we were all suggesting that the country
is there a constitutional disposition that gives the president mandate to extend presidential elections? He has the power to do that for the municipal and parliamentary.
If you want to talk about the constitution, you know Cameroon have very good laws and policies which are not respected until when respecting it is favorable to the system in place. It becomes very respectful. But when it is not in their own interest, they don't respect it. What I want to say like that, because you want to follow the constitution very well, you will see that the president has lost legitimacy in power on several occasions. When you travel and you go and stay out of the country for so many days and you come in, which is against the constitution, you realize that he is not more the president, even during the elections.
Hold on. Let me come to you. Now, the opposition parties, can we say that instead of fighting to get the ruling party from power, they're fighting to become the second party in Cameroon? That is the key position that is sought after now is the position of the SDF.
Yes, that is true. When we see what went on in the 2018 election, we discovered that a party like the CRM, was trying to assert itself as the key opposition party at that moment. I don't know whether they were wrong, I don't know whether they were right, but I think that that was the wrong fight, because that is spending their energy on something that doesn't make sense. Whereas there is a target, dislodging the political party in power, from power. But a lot of what was said during the 2000s, because I followed it very clearly, a lot of what was said, in the political maneuvers of the CRM was that they were the main opposition party at that time. Meaning that perhaps they knew they were going to fail or they lose the election, you understand? And they wanted to ascertain themselves as the
claim victory before time.
Yes, as this major opposition party, that has outsmarted or that has outrun the SDF party. I think that part of their failure came from that, because they spend a lot of time. All of their lieutenants in the field spend a lot of time, reminding Cameroonians that they were the major party, they were the major opposition party, and they are still doing that now.
15%.
I don't know. Yes, I don't know whether they are right. I don't know whether they are wrong. But I think it is still the wrong fight, because if you claim that you want to organize series of protest matches, to and call on people to join you so that this electoral hold-up can be, dealt with once and for all, and you still spend time saying, "I am the number one opposition. I'm the number one opposition," then I think you are not yet ready for that power. You need to focus all your energy single-mindedly on what you want. And I'm sure that is why opposition is a little, it's dangling. They're not, the entire support that they need in this fight is not, forthcoming, because people are complaining, and rightly, that the CRM party is extremely arrogant. There is some kind of arrogance within the party that is not very different from the party in power. You know, the arrogance are very, very similar. The arrogance on both sides is very, very similar. And people are afraid already of that kind of party. This is my fair analysis of the situation.
Good evening in the studio. My best school is GBHS Nyete Akomdu. It's Abine Gilberto Kenzo from Yokemoyuka. I love the school because it has the best economic teacher, Mr. Baye. Wow, what a teacher. Mr. Ascension Ekele from the regional hospital Limbe. The problem with Cameroon politics is that they are all fighting for their self-interest. My best school is GHS Nyasoso. May God bless you all. God bless you too, brother in Limbe. My best school is Government High School Motombolombo Tiko. Since 2016 till date, she has survived the crisis by appealing to parents and children. Discipline and results are top. The school rescued children from private and government schools and troubled areas. Kowak Bandulu, writing from Tiko. Good evening to you, Kowak, our colleague. Good evening to you all in the studio. Apart from the SDF, there is no political party in Cameroon. My best school is CKC Kondo Titi. Please, Mr. Liu, tell me the best mayor. The person who won the best mayor was Mayor Donatus Ndong of Kumbo. He won that contest. Greetings to you out there. My best school is Somerset Boya. I love the school because it has made me who I am today. It's adorable. Adorable is writing from Kumba. Do you buy what Walan just said? And how do we come out of this position?
Yeah, I buy it totally. Well, I have two words for Jones. The first one is that he should not be totally pessimistic.
Okay.
I've seen in West Africa very dictatorial regimes who forget themselves once in a while, as he did in '92 when the SF won and was pushed away. It's possible to push them away. Second point, which is a correction, go back to the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
The Constitution does not say that when the president of the country stays outside for more than 40 days, it's illegal. It's very clear. It says that in case of incapacity, if the president becomes incapacitated for 40 days, Constitutional Council ascertains it. So it's not a matter of staying abroad.
Thank you very much for the correction.
And then coming to your question, all political parties should strive to have a neutral playing ground.
They should go for
good rules and
reforms in the electoral system?
Yes, unfortunately, it has to come from the state. It has to come from the government.
But they can all
bring pressure
and push the government to do that.
Well, it's quite difficult because that's why I was complaining too much about those foreign powers who come in only for elections. After elections, they leave. They should push in for reforms. UNDP, United Nations Development Program, have been doing that. The UN systems have been doing that. It's not enough. It is not perfect. We need to come back to a system whereby it is still confidence. The World Bank says that amongst other things that causes chaos in countries are poorly organized elections. We should not wait for a day that we reach that. The company of this crisis, MRC crisis, is electoral. So we should not fall in that trap. Poorly organized elections can put a country into trouble. And never forget, there are very rich people in the world, rich countries in the world, ready to sponsor anything in this country. We have resources. So the moment you push some parties too much, they may listen to the devil and the country will be in crisis.
Okay, good evening, Leonard and all the panelists. My sincere condolences to Mr. Walang. I truly appreciate today's topics for discussions. I would say immaturity, greed, and ignorance of the future effects has so much destroyed the minds of individuals and even groups of people, calling themselves politicians and political parties. If only we could see how much we destroy the future for the unborn majority. If only we could think of the pain of others and work for the betterment of our country. If only we could go back to the definition of the term politics Read through the lines of the definition and ensure it is properly implemented. Then believe me, the future will be bright even for the unborn generation. So I say greed, immaturity, please, plus ignorance. All of these and a lot more are the factors affecting all, and I repeat, all the political parties and politicians in this country. I vote for Progressive Comprehensive High School Bamenda as best. I am Achere Eta from St. Petersburg, Tamfu. Seemingly you are appreciating what Achere has written. Is it for the school or his idea? Good evening, sir.
For the school.
I am Ngam Divine in Bonaberi, Douala. My best school is the Edge Bilingual Nursery and Primary School. This one says the best school is the Edge Bilingual Nursery and Primary School, Bonaberi, Chateau. It is the best because it goes beyond pedagogy. It teaches pupils to be independent rather than being independent, and also the pupils are educationally oriented. Okay, that is Edge. The only way we can remove the president from the chair is as follows. Members of ELECAM should be elected by the people, not by the ruling party. Members of the Constitutional Council should be elected by the people. All opposition parties should come together and form a strong opposition party. Elections should be read after 2 days to avoid corruption. Abuno is writing from Kumba. Thank you. Good evening, all. I am Putin Winston, writing from Dallas, Texas. There is no good school in Cameroon because the curriculum is very weak and all the principal and headmasters are from the ruling party. They control the schools as if it's their family business. Thank you for your message. Is it time for political parties to be pruned in Cameroon? That is, we should be left with 2, 3. How do we get there?
I think so. I think so. And talking on the sincere note, it may not be Modena, because what Modena thinks is that all the opposition political parties should come together as one man. We will sit, we vote among us and say that, okay, this man has won the vote. He will be the one to stand and represent us. Then we go to our partisans, our party members, and tell them that we all are going to stand behind this man and support him till we make sure he wins the elections. Because it's not all about going to vote. We will go and vote. Stand there until you count and control your votes, and make sure that the vote that is being read is what was counted. Because you can only defend what you were there and you witnessed. Many Cameroonians at times will complain that vote was stolen, this and that. When you go to find out, you realize that many don't even have electoral voting cards, but yet they complain. So if they want a change, I think they should all register, engage themselves into politics, and we, the political parties, come together, choose one person. Because among us, we know who is who. We choose one person and send the person ahead. I think that would be a way out. Because with all these political parties, it's all distraction. It's distraction because from 92 up till today. Because after 92, the number of the political parties has kept on increasing. And the result they are producing, there's nothing to write home about. Then it was better in 92 when it was yet controllable, when there were only few. So I think the time has come for us to go back. Let these people forget about their ego and their self-interest, come together like one man and stand against Mr. Biya.
Okay. Walang Abang, how do we control the explosion in political parties in Cameroon? Because as we speak, maybe in the next 2 weeks, 3, 4 are still going to be created. How do we reduce their numbers so that they can help channel the energies of the militants and the people?
That question is a good question, but you know, it's on the table. It's supposed to be placed on the table of the President Minister of the Administration or the ministers.
No, but the political parties themselves can decide to say, okay, we join, we want to merge into something.
If the political, I bet you, Mr. Bean, you know, this is a fact that I think, you know, I stand to be corrected. If political parties decide to merge, there is still a possibility to create 60 parties the next day. There is still a possibility, because even we know that in 1992 the government created parties that stood for the presidential election. Although those parties were, largely unpopular, people did not know them, but they were created for that purpose. Unfortunately, even if opposition merges today, those parties, not those parties, the government, being an expert in distraction, manipulation, can create 60 parties the next day.
What is the remedy for the situation, the current situation, where we find a political party insulting the other, castigating the other, because seemingly that is the game that is on?
It is greed. It is greed. But I have said that, although I say, I'm an analyst and I want to be fair with my analysis, although I say that the CRM spends a lot of its time, and energy claiming that they were the first or they were the major opposition party, I think that we should be fair also. We should put things in context. There is, I've witnessed elections in those countries where, like Senegal, where they go second round. The stronger parties are the ones that pull the weaker parties. It means that the weaker parties go and join the stronger parties. They say, at this moment, because you have gone to the second round, let's join you so that, we dislodge the incumbent from power, the common enemy. It is not the stronger party that, goes to the weaker parties, as if the weaker parties had more powers than such things should be recognized. If they are not recognized, there is just no way that the opposition is going to unite, because people should be given, it is true, people should be given their worth the way they are. You know how worthy. I am sure that if a parallel TV station comes here and says, Mr. Bean, come and work for us, we are going to begin you with a salary of 60,000, you say, man, have I gone to that level? It is true. Those are facts in life. So the people who are, how do I put it, the people who recognize the strength in unity should say, let us determine those who have the numerical strength, for example, now in Cameroon, which party is more popular or most popular. We should forget about the palmarès. You understand? They are long-lasting, standing in the political arena. No. As of today, which party is the most popular? Which party can gather many people, into the political scene so that they could be able to dislodge that? If such questions are not asked, and if honest answers are not given to such questions, then I think that the opposition will have a problem of unity in Cameroon till thy kingdom come.
Okay. Mr. Nzifo, how do we get the opposition to start thinking like a family and seeing the CPDM as the object and not other political parties?
You start first by trying to rebuild the goals again.
Okay.
Jones, the party in power is not the enemy. The party in power can be a common opponent to opposition parties. So you need to fine-tune the language. When you look at them as enemies, they will stay there for life.
That's true.
Secondly, you need to make sure the playing ground is level. When the playing ground is level, you will filter. You may stay with 200 parties, but for very specific reasons. A party can stay for 200 years. The goal not being to really go to power to lobby, like the Green Party in Europe, environmentalists. They may stay and only lobby and legislation or alert the people that this is possible, lobby legislation. So they may not really just go to power. Your question again?
How do we get them to start thinking differently so that they can work for the common good?
It should not be an option. Should not be an option.
They have to.
No, let the playing ground be level.
Okay.
We'll filter the rest.
Okay. We are going to move over to our second topic for the day, which has to do with the question asking whether the government should regulate the fee structures in our schools in Cameroon. What assessment do you make of the fee structures in our respective schools across the nation?
I think we have what we have used as an advantage, and we are using it instead to keep Cameroonians here in Cameroon, which is what we call administrative tolerance, that the government gives its hand that maybe they tolerate certain things so that people can feel comfortable. But some Cameroonians use it against the greater majority. Because you realize that when someone opens a school, to help a community, at the end of the day, he concentrates more on money making than the help that he wants to issue to the community. And when you look even at the way government schools are being run, you begin to realize that people, the administrative tolerance is really a problem, because for your child now, because they say that in government school education is supposed to be free. But when you go to a government school now, they will tell you that for a child to enter, we talk on in the major cities like Douala. I know of Douala. You go to this lycée, that means the government, the high schools, for your child to enter there, you have to give 100,000 francs for PTA. It is not imposed, which is something that before, we used to know that PTA is that parents, they come together, they see a project that they want to, they may do to help a school, or pay PTA teachers, they now contribute, they chip in something. But now, principals will now say that before your child gains admission into a school, you must pay with a sum of 100,000 francs. And it is really frustrating. I think the government should go back to the educational system and see into it. I appreciate so much the work that Madam Nalova Lyonga has been doing so far, because I've seen her go from school to school. I think she should intensify the work, just as the Minister of Health also, who have been going to the field to see what's really taking place there, because as long as they sit in Yaoundé without going to the field, moving to the field, see how their personnel are working, I think that there's no way forward. So when they go to the field, they will not see the reality of what is happening. But when we talk about the fees of the school, we also forget about clandestine schools. They are also in the show. So if all these things are put in order, I think the Cameroonians will live life better.
Cameroonians will live life better. Walang Abang, you went through, I'm sure, 2-3 schools. You saw the fee structure at the time. You are somebody who is a stakeholder in the educational system in Cameroon, because you are a publisher, you deal in books, you have a direct link with these schools. Are you very, very comfortable with the fee structures?
Yes, I think that, that is a very technical question, because Cameroonians are going to school, despite the fee structure, the current fee structure. But the reality is that, there are many, many children who do not go to school because their parents are unable to afford that fee. This is a reality. This is not something that, we're just guessing. This is something we have seen on the field. I've been to schools where the teachers, principals say that some children who were here last year, government schools, where they pay, say, 35,000 francs. Say some children who were here last year were not able to come. They came and their parents have not been able to pay this fee, and they have been sent home. And I begin to ask myself the question, how does a government create a school and they make a fee of because the government fee in all of that 35,000 francs is 7,000 francs. There is a little portion that goes for medical. There's a little portion that goes for,
Yeah, but it cuts across. I would not want us to limit ourselves just to...
I'm coming. Okay. I'm coming, yeah. So there's a little portion that goes for medical, and then they say PTA. And PTA is used to construct projects in school. It's a wonderful thing. But don't we think that the government can get other stakeholders? Because PTA, most of the times, it's about 27,000 francs to 30,000 francs in all of that money, in some cases. So don't you think that the government could get some stakeholders, that can come and give some kind of partnership, so that people are not forced to pay exorbitant sums of money in the name of doing projects, where we find, the PTA, and, sometimes, I'm sorry to say this, but it is the truth, where about 50% of that money is embezzled, because you go and look at the quality of those projects that have been done, classes that have been
compared
built.
With the amount raised.
Compared with the amount raised, there is nothing, it is below standard. And go to private schools, that is even the worst part, And I've made a statement that, private schools, they create a disparity. They show that in a country, there is a difference between the rich and the poor, and it is legal. It is okay, because there are schools where the fee is as high as 250,000 francs, and people are sending their children there. But there are children who are not able to go to schools where the fee is just, say, 7,000 francs in villages, in our villages. So I think that the government, in the interest of the people that the government is serving, has to review the fee system.
Now, you are raising a question I saved for Mr. Ndifo, asking him whether the fee structure in our schools is not creating this class distinction amongst Cameroonians, because there are schools in Yaoundé where to have a place there you pay a million and above francs CFA, and we are hearing of schools that are being created to cost 700,000 francs a year.
Yeah.
How do we understand this in a country where the majority of the people are largely poor?
We'll come back to your topic. Should the government regulate the fee structure? Yes, the government has done it.
Okay.
Let me illustrate with the primary school sector. In 2001, the president apparently thinking that with the Millennium Development Goal number 2, universal primary education attained, he accepted with the World Bank and other partners that primary schools should be free. But where's the problem? It means the government has to put in more resources. The government does not put in more resources. If you are a school official, headmaster, you have a population. The government has not built classes. You are obliged to turn to the parents. That's what they are doing. They have no choice. And you come to a situation whereby the government, to an extent, has decided to be somehow irresponsible. The minimum package reaches schools 3 months after. There's a survey by Transparency International Cameroon 2011 saying that 78% of school authorities think that the minimum package comes late, is irrelevant. 57% think that it should be scrapped. So you see, they are now tempted illegally, informally now,
to go create schools.
To not bring in a new structure.
Okay.
Government schools. How do you... The text of 2001 also says that PTA fees are voluntary. It is now an obligation. If you don't pay those fees, you are not admitted. So you see the way the government has not lived up to expectations in education. People are now struggling to do other things. There's a law of 2004 defining the law of 2004 governing private education, which says in Article 21 that the state and the private education organization determine the structure of the fees. So you see, A is 50,000, B is 200,000, C is 500,000. Mr. Abbas said something which is very important. The state has legalized discrimination amongst our children. The moment you are rich, let me remind you, you're talking of 250,000 francs. There are schools in this country, more than 1 million.
That's
schools by foreign nationals.
That's true.
American, British schools.
No, there are schools by Cameroonians.
And by Cameroonians, yes. So the state has simply failed in its obligations. Education is a right. So the state has failed to make sure education becomes a right. And now, they now turn to business people. Let me tell you, no school promoter or proprietor does it for philanthropy. There may be passion, but you cannot put in money year in, year out. It goes and so on. Remember, the subsidies the government used to give is not giving. The subsidies is not only money. You could send teachers. The government is not sending teachers and so on. The government has difficulties in having enough teachers in its own schools. It's not even working. It's complicated by the government in the status of the teachers even in government schools. Some are motivated, some demotivated. You have civil servants, you have state agents, you have contract officers, you have those paid by the World Bank, those paid by Islamic Bank, and those who don't even know their status. So in the end, there's no motivation. There's no motivation. You have schools, if parents don't build classes, it's finished. Then you have another set of schools by missionaries, by the churches. It's pure business. How do you explain the fact that if government is defiant, you pay the PTA? In those schools, you pay hundreds of thousands to the churches. They also ask PTA. How do you explain?
Yeah,
so
private schools.
Who authorizes the structure of the fee?
Schools owned by individuals now ask for PTA. Now,
please permit me, please. I wanted to add something to what Mr. Tamfu said. That if you look at the corruption the rate of corruption in our secondary schools, especially government secondary schools, you discover that even the 35,000 francs that people pay, including PTA, you know, sometimes to get children admitted into that school, you have to bribe with some, you know, stupendous sums of money. Yeah. Sometimes in situations it's more than 100,000.
The monies are known.
You know, so that is still part of the school because you are paying it in the light that your child has to go to that school. So that is still a part of what increases fees and makes it difficult for parents in Cameroon.
Okay.
Corruption.
Good evening to all. My best school is GBHS Tiko. I am Sabum Sama from Bamenda. Okay, good evening to you. Mr. Ascension Ekele of the regional hospital. Again, the problem with Cameroon politicians is that, okay, I have read that message. Good evening. My best school is Nabex Comprehensive College Boya because most of their teachers are GCE examiners. Okay. Good evening to you all. I am Chejuel from Kumba. My best school is GBHS Kusala because the knowledge which I received from there has made me to perform well even in Douala. Good evening, Leo. Poverty and egocentrism will never end until those parties in the suitcase are dissolved. Keep up. Your program will go places from Bart Johnson. Writing from Kumba. Anduba Cletus, my best school is GHS Andek Ngi because of my chemistry teacher, Mr. Asanya Isaac. Wow, very, very great to acknowledge teachers. Good evening. Power is being taken, power is not given. If you are not ready to take, then no need to even talk of it. Philippian is writing from Limbe. Good evening, all the panelists. I enjoy your program. Please, I like when you invite, okay, the best journalists. May God grant you more grace. The best school is GBHS, Fundong Boyo Division. Mr. Anye writing from Tiko. Kudos to you all. The worst is primary schools. We copy lessons in English on the board, and the worst are head teachers, especially in Boya, where they hold meetings and refuse to give incentives to teachers, and they fake enrollment so as to collect huge minimum package. Worse still, there are some free houses whereby HM has built personal houses but still collect rents from young teachers from the same houses they lived in many years. Lazarus Ngumba writing from Munya. In applying to create a school, the first objective that they say is to educate, to help the population, but to turn around to make it a purely business venture.
It's you know, the heart of man is evil. That's what I would say, because I would see no reason that you just live on the blood of others, you live on the Christ of others. We'll see the other time the minister came and we talk of a minimum wage in Cameroon, which was 36,700 francs or something of that nature. And then you expect a parent of that or who will take such a wage in a place like Douala. Maybe if you are to afford the smallest room, it will be 15,000 francs. From that money, you are left with what to pay transport and all that. You see, at the end of the day, life becomes very difficult, even to pay the 37,000 francs, if that was even the case to pay in a government school. But unfortunately, you go to a private school, it's above 60,000 in Douala. I'm talking about secondary schools. Now, I will somehow blame the government and advise that instead of them only falling on schools to regulate the fee, they should also see into salaries, because the government has abandoned or has gone on holidays as to what concerns the workers in Cameroon. Workers in Cameroon are not being protected by the government.
As employers collect exorbitant fees and then pay mega salaries.
Mega salaries are paid. They squeeze all the energies from that they can squeeze from the employees and pay them very little salaries that makes life very difficult to them. You see somebody, you employ a worker, your child is going to a school that costs 1.5, maybe in Cameroon or abroad, but that man who works that money for you is unable to send a child in the government secondary school in Cameroon that maybe the fees are about 30,000 francs. So the people to reduce the fee, if the government has to do something, it should not only look on the schools, it should also look on the people who pay our salaries, because no matter how the government may control the fee, if our salaries, nothing is done about our salary, because we of the private sector, I think that it will be fighting a lost battle. Because we will still suffer no matter how the school may reduce the school fees. And I will also call upon the government to see into the salaries of those teachers teaching in those schools. Because those school fees, they will pay those school fees very high, but the salary that are being paid to those teachers is very lamentable.
It's pure business.
Yeah, it's pure business, because we send our children in primary schools. It's in nursery school especially. The teachers eat the food of our children. Because my child has come to the house on several occasions and told me that my madam ate my food. I told her, yeah, auntie ate your food because she too was hungry. Hunger is a friend to nobody. I cannot be telling the child that your teacher wouldn't have eaten your food. I understand the system. The madam is hungry and needs to food. If you can take a bit from the child, because you have what can the child eat. So when you are putting food also, you have to consider that the madam may also take part and eat, and you have to put much. So there are so many things to be looked at by the government. So that's my take on that.
Okay, that's your take on that, Walang. We accuse the government of exploiting Cameroonians, of not being attentive to Cameroonians, and we go telling the world that we want to help our communities by creating schools, and then end up exploiting the same people we claim to be our brothers and sisters.
Yes, permit me, Mr. Bin, to generalize, that statement and relate it to what Mr. Tanfu has said. He has made a very pertinent point. People's purchasing power also matters. If people are complaining that the school fees in Cameroon is very high, it is because they do not have the purchasing power. And why do they not have the purchasing power? Because the government has totally abandoned them. Because many people are working in the private sectors, even in some public services, their salaries are so low that they cannot put bread on the table every day.
They cannot afford to pay the high fees.
I mean, for somebody who cannot put bread on the table means that he cannot, because the essential thing is eating in the house first before paying the fees in school. So it is really a deplorable situation. And schools are the how do I call it? They are the height. Private schools, they demonstrate the height of this disparity of salaries. Very, very low salaries, and the government says nothing about it. I mean, how do you imagine somebody who is going to school, has a family, a man who has a family, is teaching in a school and earning, say, 40,000 francs to take care of his family in a town like Douala? It is practically, or it is almost impossible. So I think that the government should take its responsibilities into its hands and call for salary regulation. It is important. If these people are supposed to, or if they are going to send their children to schools, where the output is visible, if they can feed their families well, then there should be a total review of the salaries of these individuals. There are people who are earning salaries in Cameroon that cannot begin by taking care of the children in the house, or pay the house where they have to live in, because it begins with shelter, it begins with feeding, shelter, clothing, then school, and and so on and so forth. But many people have salaries that cannot cover these expenses, regardless of schools.
Good evening to you, Guy. My name is Isaac. I write from Boya. My best school is GBHS Bomenda. Good evening to you all in the studio. I'm called Eno Elvis, writing from Mamfi. All schools are good because teachers pass knowledge to pupils and students. My worries is that BIA should resolve the Anglophone crisis. Thank you. Good evening, Marionette from Yaoundé. My best school is GBHS Tico because they have the best chemistry teacher by name Mr. Mofo Gabriel. Wow, teachers are being celebrated today. Good evening, is Michael from Kumba Mission Schools. Exploit teachers and do not even pay them, but collect huge fees. These teachers have become slaves to the mission. The government needs to intervene. I'm sure we have to look at, discuss the salary issues of most private and mission schools in our next edition. The best school is PGSST Bafut. Leslie is writing from Kumba. Mr. Leo, good evening to you all in the studio. The government should regulate fee structure because most principals had embarked on bribe. How can parents pay up to 100,000? My best school is GBHS Ekondo Titi because of my economic teacher, Mr. Nongene. I'm Francis in Yupui in Douala. Good evening, my people. More grace to you all in the house. Thank you too. Blink. Good evening, sirs. My best school is GTHS Moliko Boya by McDonald from St. Pete. Good evening, McDonald. Good evening to you all. I'm Leslie from Limbe. Mission Secondary School should give prospectus alongside book list. They preach holistic education but scam parents. Mrs. Minister, please, before schools reopen, parents in all mission schools should be given a book list. Okay, we hope that message is gone. Good evening, greets you all in the studio. I'm called Kumak Fritz from Tico. I love your program. The school I like so much is Tamotech Tico. The school is good in practicals. It builds up good future engineers. Thank you. Love you all. Okay, we love you too. Good evening, sir. I'm Akem Jennifer Leke. My best school is Nabex in Boya. Parents pay their PTA fee, so I think fees should be cut down, especially in primary schools. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Wallan and panelists. I am Dikmu Timothy in Mutengene. Your contributions towards nation building are very relevant, but my worry is that they are all failing on deaf ears. Please keep on. Hope one day God will help us and things work for the good of this nation. I like the program. Okay, thank you very, very much. I want to tell you that those who want school to resume are those who want to make money by kidnapped people. Hayato is writing. This one says, greetings to my uncle. I really love his contribution. Raymond in Limbe, talking about Mr. Ndifo. They're sending you greetings.
Thanks.
Good evening, sir. I'm Pauline in Bomenda. My best school is GBHS. Bomenda. Good evening, Juliet from Boyatown. My best school is BHS. That is Baptist High School. Mr. Ndifo, what strategically should the government do now?
Before what the government should do, let's look about the fee structure again. They will tell you, you have fees, you have tuition, you have PTA. But there are other fees. When they ask you upon admission to bring reams of papers, what is that?
Toilet rolls.
Toilet rolls material. In the end, the school authorities with the stationaries you bring on top of what you pay,
they spend very little.
Spend very little.
In chalk.
And they pay quite low salaries to the teachers. What should the government do? The government has to come back to the drawing board. The pretext in 1986 was that you had economic crisis. Education is a right. It is to be done by government. Private schools are only helping the government. The government should give subsidies, should help these private schools. The government should build more schools, provide logistics for all schools. It is a right.
Okay, it's a right. They're telling me that we are out of time. We have to end it. Good evening, sir. My name is Ebot Clinton. I love Inter because of the way the teachers teach. That is Inter should be in Boya. Hello, good evening in the studio. I'm Pearl from Mile 4. My best school is Spring of Wisdom Nursery and Primary School, Down Beach. I'm sure that is Limbe. Good evening, sir. I'm Yasmin from Kumba. My best school is Gaby Call. We are grateful, Mr. Tamfu, that you came and were part of part of the program.
Thank you very much. It's a privilege for when I come here each time to share. I'm so happy, and I will take the opportunity also to vote for my own school. My own best school is PCHS Mancon, which has a very great population. Yes, it has a great population. So when you hear that they pass GCE 72%, you think that it is all about 72%, but the people have gone into the GCE thousands.
That's progressive.
Yes,
right?
progressive.
Good evening to the crew. I'm Manya writing from Kumba. The best school is GTHS Kumba because of my telecommunications network teacher, Mr. Metu Mwabe Fidelis. Thank you for coming. Voilà.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bini. It's always a pleasure. I'm always honored to be on this platform. And I hope that the viewers out there, they benefited something. I also hope that we lived up to their expectations.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Good evening, sir. My name is Bossman Clinton. My best school is BGS Moliko Boya, texting from Kumba. Thank you, Bossman. Good evening. My best school is GBH Njungo. The government should follow up teachers But okay, the president should also do something. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Okay, we want to thank you who watched the program, especially those who sent text messages. We want to thank the production team, to you, Eli, to you, Frank, to the two Desmonds, and to Jerry, and to you, Tabi Tambe Brian, who is supervising all we are doing out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.